Hi, it's Pat Gillis here. And years ago, before I had my own place, I used to ride a lot of other people's horses. And that would mean I'd kind of go from farm to farm and get on horses that, I didn't know or didn't know very well at least. And I was also, you know, riding in equipment that didn't belong to me and that I kind of had no control over either. And sometimes, some of these horses, they were maybe, kind of a little bit complicated, I guess you could say. And so the last thing you really wanted to have happen was to have like equipment failure or something that would cause a situation that might be already a little bit complicated to get more complicated. So I started to have kind of a checklist of things that I would check before I would even get on a horse. And so I'm going to share that with you tonight. So the first thing I would do is I would check the bridle. I once had this wonderful experience that I got on a horse that someone had asked me to ride, and when I got on, I didn't check the bridle, and it turned out that they had cleaned the tack, sort of like this. It was nice and clean, but I never turned it around to see this side. And it turned out that they hadn't put, you see that little pin? They hadn't put the little pin back in. So the first little bit of pressure on the rein, it just fell right off the bridle, which wasn't great at that particular time. But anyway, we survived. So I always now check to make sure that the bridle is well stitched and that little pin is in. So I also check the cheek piece, which is this piece here, and I make sure that it also is well stitched and that little pin is in, because the last thing you want to have happen is for that to fall off the horse's head, essentially, which is, can be kind of troubling. The next thing that I check would be the girth. You want to make sure that the girth is in good repair, that those buckles are on and well stitched on both sides of the girth, and that the girth itself is generally in good condition. The next thing I want to check is the stirrup leathers. So if you look at this saddle, so I'll just pull that down. So I want to check and make sure, again, I'm all about the stitching, right? You want to make sure that this is well stitched, that it's not fraying and coming away, because this, you're going to be putting your foot in this stirrup, and that's, enough weight there that you don't want to find out when you're right in the middle of a jump or something that this all lets go and you end up, on the ground or whatever. So again, avoiding equipment failure in this regard. But the one thing I think most people check those things, but the one thing I always check that a lot of people don't think about, or at least a lot of our students have told me they don't think about, is I check the stirrup, where the stirrup actually is resting. So do you see that bar? I mean, that's the bar that the stirrup is actually on. Okay, I don't know if you can see it there. Okay, so there's the stirrup, and the stirrup rests on that bar, and there's this little piece right here. This is kind of a safety feature on stirrups. I can't even move it. I had to switch saddles to show you this. This extra piece right here is like a safety thing, and it can sometimes be in this position. I'll need the other hand. Hang on a sec. So sometimes you'll see it in that position. You see how it's going straight up now. Now the theory in that is that supposedly the stirrup won't easily come off the saddle. If somehow the rider makes some kind of a mistake, the stirrup won't just fall off the saddle. So if you ride with this safety bar up because you're worried about the stirrup leather falling off, the only reason under normal riding conditions that a stirrup leather could come off the saddle really is if your lower leg is quite unstable and swinging back and forth quite a bit. And if your lower leg is that unstable and swinging back and forth, it probably means you're not really balanced over top of your leg, which means that your balance is a bit precarious. And if you're not balanced over top of your leg and your balance is a bit precarious, your odds of falling off the horse are a lot higher, right? And if, God forbid, you fall off the horse and your foot gets stuck in the stirrup, and now you're on the ground being dragged by the horse, you want that stirrup to come off as fast as it can come off. But if you've got the safety bar up, that very well may hold it in place, and then you're in a lot of trouble, right? Because if I was going to ride a horse that I didn't know, or any horse really, the first thing I would do is lift up the skirt of the saddle. I would pick that up right there, and I would look to see if that safety bar is up. And I'm not getting on the horse if that safety bar is like that. I want that safety bar hang on a sec, I want it in that position. I have to set the camera down because it takes 2 hands to pull that thing into place. And so I want to make sure whenever I ride, again, I come up to the saddle. If it's already on the horse, I've checked the bridle, I've checked the cheek pieces, I've checked the girth, I've checked to make sure my stirrup leathers are well stitched, and then I'm going to lift that up and I'm going to make sure the safety bar is also in that position and not in this position, because I want that stirrup leather to come off. If everything goes sideways and I'm coming off that horse, I want the stirrup leather to come with me. Always remember, it's you that's riding the horse, and you want to keep yourself as safe as possible all the time. And one of the silliest ways to come off a horse or get hurt with a horse is just from equipment failure, right? So you don't want to do that. So those are my tips this week. If you're watching this anywhere besides at our blog, which is at ismyhorsehappy.com, go on over there, scroll down, leave a comment, and let me know what you think. And enjoy your horse, and we'll see you next week. Thanks.